Hello and welcome to this demo on how to use the UiPath app or web recorder to automate tasks. The UiPath app or web recorder is a powerful tool that allows you to easily record and automate actions while using web applications and desktop applications. In this demo, we'll cover the recorder's menu options and learn how to use it to automate tasks. Here, we'll build a workflow for applying for a loan on the UI Bank website and obtaining a loan ID. Let's get started. First, let's start by launching the app or web recorder. To do this, we click on the App or Web Recorder button from the ribbon menu. Once the app or web recorder is launched, we can choose to record actions on a web application or a desktop application. Now, we can navigate to the web page that we want to automate actions on. In this demo, we'll be automating actions on the UI Bank website. The app or web recorder will automatically record most actions, such as clicking buttons and typing text. But for certain actions, such as copying text, we need to provide instructions for the recorder to generate the respective activity. If we want to pause the recording, we can use the pause button on the recorder. In this way, we can check something in the meantime and we can perform some actions that we don't want to be recorded. Once we've finished recording the actions, we can stop the recording by clicking on Save and Return to Studio option, and the app or web recorder will generate the related activities in a workflow. Use app or browser activity has been generated for the targeted app, and we have other activities within it. We can also edit and fine-tune or edit the generated activities as necessary. We can also add additional actions and activities to the workflow. Let's come back to the recorder and take a closer look at the Input Method option in the UiPath app or web recorder. The Input Method option lets us choose how the UI interactions are performed, and it's used both during the recording and at runtime. The available options are Chromium API, Window Messages, Simulate, or Hardware Events. By default, the input method is set to Auto, which auto-detects the best input method based on the project settings. This allows us to change and test the input method during real time on a specific activity. Input method options determine how automations interact with the user interface. There are options for performing automation in the foreground or background. We can learn more about these options in the following video. When working with different activities, it's important to consider the compatibility of the input method. For example, if an activity doesn't support hotkeys, we can use a different input method that does support hotkeys. This way, we can ensure that automation is performed correctly and efficiently. Let's keep the input method option as auto only, so that the recorder can choose the most suitable input method for our actions. The next option is the Enable Full Configuration of Targets and Saved Values option. If this option is enabled, all of the targets must be confirmed using the Confirm button, which appears under the target element. It also allows us to add or delete an anchor for the target if needed, to make our selection more reliable. If this option isn't enabled, the recorder will automatically record our action without our confirmation. Finally, we'll take a look at the Enable Recording of Object Library Elements option. With the Enable Recording of Object Library Elements option enabled, the recorder will check elements recorded against the UI element library, saving them for future use and sharing them with the team, making automation more efficient. It creates a new object if it's new, or links to an existing object if one is found. This integration with the object repository makes it easier to create and reuse UI taxonomies across automation projects, and it can also be used to make our automation more scalable. Now that we've covered the basics, let's take a closer look at a few more in-depth aspects of the UiPath app or web recorder. One of the most important things to understand about the app or web recorder is that most of our actions are recorded automatically. For example, clicking on buttons or links and other clickable elements such as icons or images will automatically generate a click activity. Typing text in a text area such as a text box will automatically generate a type into activity, which we have already seen. However, for some actions, the recorder needs our instructions. For example, copying text, hovering over an element, and highlighting an element. The recorder waits for our instructions. Once we provide the instruction, it generates the respective activity. For example, to copy a text, we'll use the Get Text option. By default, if we select a button, a click action will be recorded. So, let's go ahead and click on the Apply for Loan button. You'll notice that we have a few options available when hovering over the button. We can select the desired action, change the layout of the actions to be horizontal, and even use the pin feature to ensure that the list of actions is displayed whenever we hover over a UI element. We can also use image automation while recording by dragging an area in your application by holding the left mouse button. It'll prompt us to select an action that we want to perform on the UI element. Another important thing to consider is that if a use application or browser activity is selected in the workflow designer while recording, the recorder will only allow us to indicate actions on elements in the application or web page selected in the application or browser activity. Let's take a look at it in action. We'll select the Use Application or Browser card, and then click in the App or Web Recorder. Now we'll try to indicate the UI element from the WI application. We aren't able to select it. When the recorder starts from inside a used application or browser card, this initial window can't be deleted. Also, it won't allow us to record steps from any other application. Now let's open the app or web recorder without selecting the Use Application or Browser activity. Let's try indicating the cache-in field in the WI app. We're able to indicate it now. Can you guess why? Yes, we're able to select and interact with UI elements from various applications or web pages. This is possible because we don't have to specify a specific Use Application or Browser activity for each application or web page. This means that we can easily switch between different applications or web pages while recording without having to start a new recording session for each one. Additionally, one of the key benefits of the recorder is that we can record multiple applications or web pages in the same recording session. This allows us to automate tasks across multiple applications or web pages in a single workflow, making the automation process much more efficient. Let's begin with project development for the use case discussed. Let's open the UI Bank webpage using the URL https://uibank.uipath.com/loans. In this case, the robot should complete the input form to apply for a loan. To do this, it'll enter the email address of the requester, the loan amount, select the loan term, enter the current yearly income, and enter the age of the requester. Finally, it'll click on the Submit Application button and get the loan ID for the application. Let's begin by hitting the Start Recording button and hovering over the Apply for Loan button. By default, if we select a button, a click action will be recorded. So, let's go ahead and click on the Apply for Loan button. Next, let's select the email address of requester field. Since the Enable Full Configuration of Target and Saved Values option is enabled, we'll be prompted to confirm our selection, add an anchor, or delete the target. Let's go ahead and confirm our selection. The recorder has identified it as an input field and will prompt us for the value to be input, or for a source for the data, such as a variable. Let's go ahead and enter the email address. It's important to note that we can enter a string, a variable, or even create a new variable with Ctrl+K depending on our needs. For now, let's disable the full configuration of target and saved values option. This way, we won't receive the target confirmation request for each action that we perform. Now let's select the loan amount requested field. We'll enter a dummy loan amount for this demo and move on to selecting the loan term. The recorder has identified it as a drop-down option and will prompt us to choose from the list. Next, we'll select the current yearly income field. We'll enter a dummy income for this demo. We'll click on the Submit Loan Application button. Next, we'll select the loan ID and choose the Get Text action. We've now recorded all of the necessary actions, so we'll save and return to Studio. Now that we've identified the loan ID, we'll use a variable to store it for later use. We'll press Ctrl+K in the field and enter the name of our variable, Loan ID. Next, we'll add a message box activity to display the loan ID. In the text property, we'll enter the variable that we created earlier. Let's save and run the workflow. The best practice is to review all of the targets created by the recorder as you gain more development experience. We've reached the end of this demo on the capabilities of the app or web recorder. For the key takeaways: 1. The app or web recorder captures our actions as we perform them on the screen and generates a use application or browser activity with a series of activities inside it based on our actions. 2. When using the recorder, we can choose the input method and enable the full configuration of targets and saved values mode. 3. While recording, when hovering over an element, we can decide the type of action we want to perform on that element. 4. We can seamlessly record multiple applications in the same recording session. 5. After we save the recording, we can edit the generated activities at any time. Here's a challenge for you. Give the app or web recorder a try by recording a simple task on your computer and see how easy it is to automate repetitive actions. Join the community and get in touch with other automation enthusiasts to share tips and best practices. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next demo.